Something that I see in Christianity as well as parts of Hinduism and the Kabbalah as well, which I've been getting into quite recently, is the idea that the end goal, so to speak, isn't merely for people to just chase their fancies in, as the Hindu religion calls Maya, the illusion that we're in, that's a never ending cycle of birth and death. But the end goal in this case would be the merging of all of us with the Godhead from which we all descended. Or in the Kabbalah, they have an expression called the breaking of the vessels, where the originating force that created everything, once it created everything, Ein Sof, as they call it, the world of infinity, it was a force that was given all of that Godhead's love, or how do I say it? It was a vessel that received, and that force, which we could call God, was something that gave it something. It was an all giving force, and that vessel that received that force was so happy and so gratified to get it. But eventually, and I'm not really sure what the middle steps are here because I haven't gotten into it that much, but eventually, the level that we're at right now is one where we're always receiving and not giving back. Even if we're giving back something, like if we're showing love to somebody, if we have a family, wife and kids, we're still getting something out of showing love towards those people. We're still getting the satisfaction of being, you know, a family man, of being somebody who helps other people out. And in the Kabbalah, the goal is, from what I understand, to elevate oneself in terms of the state of mind to being able to give without wanting anything in return. And that would be the state of the creator. And as far as Hinduism goes, the thing there is to sit around, meditate, and eventually get to the point of samadhi where you're merging together with universal consciousness or God or whatever you want to call it. So, in two of those things, and I'm sure in certain esoteric sects of Christianity, you would find similar things. The idea would be to have everybody go together as the one unit that we were all once a part of, as opposed to living in this world where it's dualistic, where there's you and me, there's the observer and the observed.
So there's a Buddhist concept that fits perfectly with that. This idea of how the world. So originally you have kind of nothingness, right? Mm-hmm. And from that nothingness, like kind of step down. Like it had to, in order to get to creation, from nothingness came soul, and from soul came mind, and mind like stepped itself down to body, and body stepped itself down to matter. And then as we know it, right, like the beginning of the universe was this explosion of matter outward, which has slowly like formed into bodies, which like then through a long process developed minds, which has kind of like now started to, you know, use its soul to ask these questions of like, how are we reconnecting back at the beginning, right? How do we get back to that place that we, and it's like, you had to get that, right? Like you had to get there. We had to get up to this mind and soul construct in order to get to, and where we could even scratch the surface of like what that next level is, what it means to be part of the whole thing. You should check out Neoplatonism, specifically Platonius, who was one of the kind of star students of Plato, went on to write a whole bunch that kind of became the basis philosophy-wise for a lot of the things that you're talking about, Vedantic Hinduism, Kabbalah. There's even, you know, kind of the early Gnostics who were like kind of combined with the Christians, the early Christians had a lot of that.
Absolutely.
And what's really interesting that he says, and I think that this is a point, because you mentioned God, I think this is a point that people kind of rush over a lot of the time, which is when we say God, we mean two things. One, the creator of us. And the second thing is with the creator of everything. And it is seemingly like we do it all the time in like, just like kind of like, I don't know, like seasoned philosophers will be like God and only refer to the combination of those two things, like they have to be combined, like whatever created us. And I guess you could say that the original creator, whatever created everything, is in a sense the creator of us. But could we have a more direct creator? Is it fair to believe that like that something potentially came between the first emanation of soul or whatever existed before existence and whoever kind of like did the lowly job of forming our atoms together. And it's like, we often put those two things together. I think that's kind of something at least to be discussed. And Platonius says it. I mean, he actually calls that mid-level god creator the demiurge, which is a craftsman or artisan god in Greek. And yeah, so I like to think that we have a creator, and that the story before that is a much crazier and metaphysical story, but that we can actually look at our own creation tale and our potential future creation tales where we create simulations and continue on the cycle as part of that.